See, all right, guys. Wanted to get y'all together, talk about some of this news that was popping off today with that school shooting in Georgia. Apparently, the father has been charged. I don't know how much y'all read up on that, but really just trying to get opinions on that. I mean, as far as parents being charged for what their kids do with shit like that. I mean, I don't know what y'all's thoughts on that. I mean, y'all think that's something that ought to be pretty much implemented in every case like that, or what?
I think case
Uh,
by case,
I
honestly.
agree.
Because with this case, it's a really close call because he did buy the rifle for the son.
Yeah.
So I feel like you do have to take responsibility for that. Like it wasn't like it was his gun. His son broke into a safe or, snuck into their bedroom and took the gun. He bought it for his son.
Yeah, I did see that, and then he allowed him to just have access to it because buying it
Right.
for your kid and then leaving it to where it's just all that kind of access to it. It's a little different. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
it is.
yeah, I'm sorry, my brain was somewhere else. I was getting the setting right, but anyway, yeah, that's a little different when you just like I said, you buy it for a kid, you put it in a safe, you put it up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's in a locked spot. I mean, I get it, but yeah,
Yeah.
if you bought it for your son and it's at his discretion at any time, God, I think you and I hit on that, Shane, last podcast that there is some accountability for the parents for sure.
Yeah, I think there should be. I know
Yeah.
Bougie's always got an interesting take on everything.
well, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's not more or less it's a responsibility of the parent. The parents are held accountable for the responsibility of the children. So we need to kind of speak on those matters in duality because the your accountability is that you reign supreme over everything that happens under your umbrella. And that's accountability on your part. Then the responsibility is to each individual. So those children acting irresponsibly, uh, there should be some type of indicators to the person who's going to be held accountable for that child's actions.
Which apparently there were. Like they got questioned, him and the father, the year prior, last year, by the FBI, and the FBI, that was one of the questions they asked about the firearms that were already in the home, was if the child had access, and the father said yes, he has access to them. They're not locked up. He said they're all hunting rifles, but they're not locked up. And then after that FBI interview was when he bought the AR-15 for the kid.
So this was after the police came to the house to question him about what?
So he had made some statements on Discords, some anonymous statements. You know how anonymous online is, but
Yeah, yeah,
about wanting to shoot up a middle school.
right.
And so somebody reported it. The FBI got with local authorities and they questioned the father and the son about the comments made. And that was part of the line of questioning, was if he would even have the ability to carry out these threats. And,
Uh,
at the time he did, because there were firearms in the home. They were not locked up. He had access to them. Da 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 da. So it was kind of an already like a forethought, you would think, for the father. Like, all right, well, my son's being investigated already by the FBI saying he wants to shoot up schools. Let's buy him an
so
AR-15.
let's go out and buy him a high power. Damn.
So
Yeah.
do we all agree that the father should have been arrested in this case?
In
I
this
think so.
case, yeah,
Yeah.
Yes,
I would think so. I
absolutely.
mean, it's a
Yeah.
slippery slope you go down because you can't control everything that your child does, but you damn sure don't want to be helping them do shit like this.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I just feel like when you get questioned, like I said, the year before he shoots up a school,
Yes.
you were questioned
yeah.
about him making comments about shooting up a school. Like, even if it was like you're thinking, I'm sure a lot of parents would be like, well, my kid wouldn't do that. He's just bullshitting,
Of
whatever, da da
course.
da. But it's like, but maybe, like, let me not make it as easy as possible for him to do this.
I
Well, I
But
mean,
agree
you
with
you
you.
you. I'm sure he had two strikes against him because number one, his dad pretty much knew his thought process. First off, I mean, any father should.
yeah, you live
But
with him.
further than that, when the FBI comes knocking on your door about something that your children are doing, that I mean, there were signs, there were warnings.
Yes, absolutely. I was just getting ready to hit on that, Booge. I mean, how often is it that the FBI shows up at somebody's house to question you about post or whatever it
That's
might be, you know? I mean, that's just
yeah. What I'm
a
saying is
sign,
that
you know?
should get you on your feet. You know what I mean?
Right.
It
You would
should.
think.
Hey, look. Put the pipe down. Put your little magazine down for a second. Put on your little slippers or whatever it is. Get off your ass. You know what I mean? That's right.
Yeah, you would think like that would be your if you weren't paying attention before, that would definitely be your cue to say,
Your
all right, let me see
That
what's
would be
going
your
on.
eye opener to say, well, maybe there is an issue. Yeah.
And just to slightly touch off topic for a second, because it's just crazy how different parenting styles are. I was actually looking at a case today of a teacher getting arrested for sleeping with a student. And well, the way that it got found out was because the student in his home, they had an open door policy. So the doors to rooms should not be shut, basically. Well, the parents
Yeah.
noticed that the son was shutting the door a lot. So they're like, something's going on. He's messaging something or somebody
Right.
or da 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 da. So they bought him a new phone and installed, some type of spy software
Oh
on it,
yeah.
and we're keeping track of his texts because he decided to start closing his door. But this father, the FBI comes knocking on his door
The
about comments his
feds.
son made, and nothing. It's like, whatever.
Well, he bought him an
Huge
AR-15.
contrast.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
You
a
know?
huge contrast.
I
Yeah.
guess in the
Yeah.
mind
Big time.
of a parent, I mean, I guess everyone is like, oh, like you said earlier, my kid wouldn't do that. You know what I
Right.
mean? I guess was his thought, process. But I'm with you. When the feds come knocking, I mean, it's time to start saying, hey,
Yeah.
what's going on now? I mean, what do you do though? You ask your child about it and they tell you, I didn't say that or just that and other, and I don't feel like that. So, I mean, do you just take their word for it?
I
Or,
mean, I think the first thing I would do, definitely, like if the FBI comes knocking tomorrow saying that my son's making comments online about shooting up his school, the first thing I'm doing is making sure that the safe is locked up with the guns in it at
you
all
would think
times.
so.
Like that would
Exactly.
be the absolute minimum, even if it wasn't paying more attention to what he's doing online and
Yeah.
phones and stuff, making sure anything that he can have access to harm other people is completely locked away.
Yeah.
I'd say you go 1985 on his ass.
What you mean?
You know what I mean? It's not no more this 2021,
Oh, you talking
2022,
about like as far
2023.
as
Handgun
Yeah.
phones.
real
At that
consequences?
point, right? Because I mean,
You
and
talking about beating ass, aren't you?
I'm talking about like going 1985 and standing on your own 2 feet and being an man. I mean, at that point, because I'd rather not attend any funeral
Yeah.
to start. Would I go to jail? Probably. But I mean, the drastic. What causes? How do you phrase that with the drastic measures? I don't exactly know how to phrase that. I don't want to say something in error. But I'll say it. Drastic circumstances call for drastic measures, and at that point, yeah, you have your kids' gloves on because you want to treat and coddle your children and try to rear them right. But it gets to the point to where, what's the value? You get a flat tire, you pull over, you change the tire, or you got to replace the whole wheel if you ride on it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The snowball effect and how bad things get. I'm holding back right now because there's so much that I want to say, and I'm just really trying to keep from saying a lot of the things that this situation is plaguing me.
Well, from what I understand too, I read earlier that he apparently was being bullied for being
So,
gay. Oh yeah,
He
no,
was
so
I'm not.
brand new to the school. He
Yeah, I'm not
just
justifying
transferred
it, but the
schools.
story I read was that it was, basically
I'm
it was a
not. I'm
case.
not saying so to you. I'm saying so.
But
Keep talking.
No, I know what you meant. Like, so that's no reason to go and do what
but I
happened.
also saw that he just had transferred like complete schools to a whole new set of students and everything. He's been in that school for 2 days. He was
Really?
enrolled
Well,
for 2 weeks. He was in that school with those students for 2 days.
Damn.
Wow.
So
so
that was
so
So
another
how
the
can you
question
be
they were
bullied so?
wondering, right? And they were wondering how this kid sneaks an AR-15 into a school that he's only known for 2 days.
Well, you
I
ain't
mean, well, you
lying.
just do it. That's most crimes happen because people have either the balls or the stupidity to do things, and
Well,
that's how things happen.
we were talking about that the other night on the live, me and Brad, about how he even get in the school.
Yeah,
because
because
Right.
most
wasn't
schools
there
are locked down. Like,
a couple of resource officers there?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't
yeah, I
matter
mean
with
that's the
humans.
question.
But he still went through the door with a damn
Yeah.
AR.
How do you get that into the school? I understand a pistol, but I mean, God,
The same
Yeah.
way, the
an
same way
AR.
prisoners escape, the same way people these kids are stealing cars from dealerships. There's
Yeah.
a lot of things that happen that shouldn't, but I mean, you can only do so much.
Well,
Um,
well, they're saying the father is facing up to 180 years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's that's harsh.
Yeah.
But hey, how do you put a timeline on lives that were taken, and especially when no matter how you want to look at it, he had some kind of play in it. It's
True.
kind of like I touched on earlier about not paying enough attention, I guess, to your kid and what they're going through. Because once, like you said, the feds come knocking, it's time to start saying, "Hey, what's really
Yeah,
going
what's
on here?"
up?
Right.
yeah, well, you either your kid catches a federal case of shooting up a school, or you catch a federal case of correcting your child. If you understand what I'm saying.
No doubt.
Um,
And like as far as the time goes of the parent serving, would you feel the same way if like say instead of him shooting up a school, he would have stolen his dad's Jack Daniels and car keys and went and ran into a family of five in a minivan and killed him. You know what I mean?
accountability. It's accountability. But let's touch on something for a second, because there's a few things that's plaguing me in this instance. Number one, what is the protocol when it comes to these school shootings these days? Because people say it's supposed to be on a case by case basis, and I don't want to bring this up, but you remember back in the day when cell phones first started coming out, and there was a charge for you having material on your phone that you wasn't supposed to have, right? Oh, we lost Shane. He dropped out.
He'll be back. But continue
Okay.
what you're saying, Booch.
So what you have is you have some children. You have children were taking pictures of other children, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So then it came down to there was a child who got federal time over that, because it was a zero tolerance type deal, but it was actually children being children. But that charge was a serious charge, as it should be.
yeah,
Um, so now protocol is set on that aspect, because of course it never stopped. Every child has a cell phone in their hands now, and this is when children, probably 25% of kids had cell phones, and now all kids have cell phones, as we know.
yeah.
And there's protocol that's in there. So let's touch on the topic of what protocol do we need now for these school shootings, and what type of accountability should we expect out of the parents during these times? This is some things that are and as Justin said, how much control do we have over our children, or how much transparency do we have in our children's lives? How much do we know about our children, so that we can go and try to protect ourselves? And then on top of that, you know, follow the money.
Yeah.
Let's see, like, okay, let's say that dad is innocent in this, right? Should there be an insurance policy that you could take out, so that if your child is a bad child, because of course there is such thing as bad kids, we come and understand now. So, you know, can we have an insurance on this?
Well,
To
that's
where
kind
a
of
parent, what's that?
that's what it's been proposed, not in the sense of like school shootings, but just in shootings in general for gun owners to basically require insurance as you would if you drive a car in case, your firearm is used in a crime or a death of somebody else. You'll have insurance to back up any monetary loss that may come from that
Right.
Yeah,
to
called a
yourself.
surety bond or whatever it might be.
I got you. But
Yeah.
even further than that, I'm talking about, like, okay, so 12 months ago, the FBI approached that dad about what his child was doing.
Mhm.
And then if the dad deemed himself as someone who could not control what his child does, right? And I mean, this happens. You have children that just have a mind of their own. They do things, right? Um, could that dad have then taken out an insurance policy to ensure that he not go to jail for the rest of his life because of his son's actions, and then see to it that he can go through the proper steps, so that, I'm not saying he's going to alienate his child and separate himself from what his child is doing, but is there a type of way that we can start to get bigger companies involved, and not just leave this on a personal family type level? You understand what I'm saying, Brad?
I know where you're coming from with that, but I mean, God, does it fall onto that now we need another insurance policy? I mean, it doesn't sound like this.
Not a required insurance policy, but is there something like, let's say that I have a child, let's say that Justin is my kid, and I cannot get through Justin's head no matter what. In 12 months, the FBI contacts me, and then now I have to try to understand what it is what Justin is going through, and I have no faith in what Justin is going through, and that he may do something harsh, but he's not old enough so that he could be on his own accord, and I'm held accountable for what Justin does. Then can we move? And I know this, I'm going down a rabbit hole and I'm causing a stir in an area that I shouldn't, but is there something that parents can do themselves so that it shields them from this type of situation and get more? And I'm more or less trying to be an advocate for trying to get bigger companies to look into these things so that we can get some resolute to this, because I'm just trying to look at what could have happened in some type of way to where there were more resources, because I see failures on multiple levels. This is something that we have to talk about at a later date so I can kind of iron out all the things that are going on in my head. But it's a lot, because I'm tracing back from the time of the shooting, and I'm tracing back, and all you can really go to is the fact that the dad bought the gun for the child, and the dad knew that the child had the gun after there was some interdiction with the FBI.
And left all the guns
I think
accessible.
it falls down to it's bad parenting all the way around. I mean, I don't.
It may not be.
Let me
ask you, Brother Brad, on this. Do you think it's bad parenting on every level? I mean, you think that these children only do what's in the wheelhouse of what the parent allows?
No, but I think when it's something like that, and you got the FBI knocking at your door a year or 6 months before all of this goes down, I mean, you would hope that a parent would have enough common sense to be like, dude, what the hell is up with this? And if it's related on making horrible posts or derogatory post on a website or a social media page, that you would turn around and be like, no, this ain't going on, dude. But look, I agree with you to a certain degree about 1985. I know where you're coming from with that. And I raised my children pretty sternly, and I don't think they would ever do that, but I think it falls totally 100% on parenting. I really do. And just, I mean, look at the mother. If you look at the mother in this situation, she's no angel, So I don't think the kid had any type of guidance at all, So, but I get what you're saying, Boogie. I get where you're saying it, but I mean, will an insurance policy or would something like that stop this? No, I believe it's parenting.
So,
I do.
Hold on, let me cut you all off. I had some connection issues. What are we talking about? Insurance policies? I missed the.
Well, because what I see what's going on is you have a lot of these larger companies are requiring us to have insurance for a lot of different things, and we're paying into a system. And all of these huge companies, every big company, whether it be the insurance people, whether it be the electric, whatever company it is, and they have super lawyers that are honed to deal with protecting them. But we have a problem in our society now because we're having a lot of school shootings, and there's no structure to this. And what I'm trying to say is the dad is now, and I know in this situation right here, the dad is probably more or less has his hands a little bit dirty in this. But let's say it was somebody like me who cared, and I wanted to care about what my child did, but I had no control over my child. Is there a way that I can insure myself after the FBI comes knocking on my door so that if my child does something, that I am protected, and then have some causality for these big insurance companies to look into these instances?
But how does that keep you out of jail?
So hold on. So you're talking about having insurance for if your kid does something stupid?
But of the causality of that, yes. Number one, that it keeps my child from sending me to jail for the rest of my life to start.
But
on top of
that would be a weird in the clause, though. Like you buy insurance and you don't go to prison.
Yeah,
I think I get it from a financial standpoint. Like if you got to pay out some kind of civil suit,
because there will be civil suits out of
one
this,
of the questions would probably be, has the FBI ever visited you? And then they would be like, oh, we're not insuring you. But
that's why you would get the insurance, is because the FBI is visiting you. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I'm saying the insurance companies would be slick like that, though. Has the FBI ever visited you? Oh, well, no, you don't qualify for this. But I see
the reason why
I'm
going to tell you this. the reason why I ask is because of the causality of if you have a large insurance company that has super lawyers, then they will start to create some type of construct so that if the situation seems to be arising, that they have a way to head this off so that I'm not saying that we're going to take accountability away from the parent, but it'll kind of reflect that the parent is trying to do something to be proactive on his child doing that.
Right.
And then there'll be something else so that the insurance, because what I'm saying is the causality is the insurance company will start to create a certain construct so that these things don't happen. And that when it does happen, that you have some type of protocol as to what happens. Because right now it's a free for all. But as you know, if you slip and fall in Walmart, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, all the way down, right? You have a workman's comp case and others, right? Insurance does drive a lot of things, and it does create a lot of laws. And without them being involved in this, which is something that's very sensitive that we probably should have them involved in. And I'm saying I'm speaking on a very, very broad term, and I don't mean to try to pull a rug off from under what everybody is saying, but it just fires my brain up to try to understand who makes the protocol to this, and then who's going to fight it, and but money talks.
Well, look, my insurance, as far as liability of like you're talking about, is to make sure at bare minimum, if my son ever shoots up a school, it won't be with my gun.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good
At very bare minimum, it will not be with my firearm because he's not gonna have access to it. That's my insurance policy.
Yeah,
but you do know that it's legal for children to own guns. Like
it really
parents
is.
can buy.
Yeah, in this state it is.
Legal or not, if the responsibility does fall back on the parent, it doesn't matter.
You're right. He's right. But at the same time, I don't see any type of construct in this. I don't see any type of framework as to how we deal with this right now. And because right now we're saying that every case is a case-by-case basis, but it's pretty much cut and dry. The parent is at home and a child goes on to school. Now, if the parent walked into school with the child, that would be on a case-by-case basis. But this is where the child is at his own accord to walk into a building while the parent is sitting at home. So then I don't, I may be speaking ahead.
They had that case, I think it was in Michigan. Kid shot up a school, and the parents, it was the first time the parents had ever been charged and convicted. They wind up getting 10 years in prison. This was just a year or so ago, but they got them because the school called them and said, look, your son's doing some crazy drawings. He's writing some crazy shit about, basically not wanting to live and, dead bodies and stuff. Well, they go to the school that morning. They hear about it. They have like a 15-minute conversation with the school, and then they leave. They decide not to really take the kid home or do anything about it. Well, that day he's got a gun in his backpack. And so they charged them with that, basically just, not doing anything about it, knowing that your son had a problem, and the fact that there was another one that they bought this firearm for this child.
Right.
And they wind up getting 10 years for that shit. So I'm waiting to see what's going to go down with this, man, because it's I don't know. It's a huge responsibility, man, and somebody's got to pay for it,
In today's day, look, that father, he's going to jail. He's going. I believe. I know everybody's innocent, but he's going to jail because
he should, because he's done admitted to the investigators what went on. It's not like they're accusing him of anything.
Yes.
He told them, "I bought the gun for him," and yes, he had access to it.
He had access to it. Right.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. and then like you said, when there's already been the feds at your house, talking about this shit, about your son threatening to do this, and you still take those steps to provide him with a tool to do this. Well, you got to pay, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even have to be federal on my level. I mean, if the local municipality sheriff's office showed up at my house questioning me about my son, it'd be like, well, I got to take a stance on this. I mean, what is going on, But so
I don't know.
It's a tough situation every which way. I think you look at it, but
because it sucks to be the dad, because the last thing you thought was that your child was going to do that, and now you're facing 180 years in prison, which he's probably not going to get 180, but he's going to get something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at 50 some odd years old, I mean, depending on how many years they give them, that's basically life in prison for something your fucking child did. You know what I mean?
Well, can we discuss some gun laws?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Ban them all.
Banana
No, no, no,
Well,
no, 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 no. Let's not. Don't put words in my mouth. But okay, I'll start with
No,
some simple
that's not
questions
what
to
you
try to
said in
get
the
create a
comments the other
baseline.
night.
Okay, let's see. How old do you have to be to drink in the United States?
21.
Is it federally, like, is it across the board 21? I
Yeah.
know
I think it's
here
21.
All right,
Yeah,
and then how old do you have to be to go into the military?
18.
18.
Okay, then how old can you drive at? What's the driving age?
Depends on what
16.
state, brother.
Yeah, 15, 16-ish.
15,
Okay,
16. You know.
so but we as Americans, that as an adult, we have all of these privileges. You
Right.
understand that, right? So what type of privileges should our children have? And what type of restrictions should we have on those privileges when our children are involved in instances to where these situations could arise?
Trying to
I don't know if
follow.
I'm following you, but I mean, what are you saying? I mean, if you're talking about what kind of privileges should your children have, I mean, yeah, if you can drive at 16 or 17, then hey, that's a privilege. If you can afford the insurance for your child to drive, but I mean, pretty much statutory around the country is, 18
Yeah.
years old to go in the military, 20 years, 21 years old to drink. I mean, what's the law here for owning guns? You can't own a handgun until you're what, 21?
You can't purchase one until you're 21. You can
But
Right.
own one at 18.
like
You
you can
can own
possess.
one at 18. Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
And
So
what about long
Long
guns?
guns. I believe you can carry one at 16 for hunting purposes,
Right.
like to and from hunting, but you can buy and own at 18.
At 18. Right.
Mhm.
Should we have special laws in place so that they can own, like, let's say, a single shot 22 or
No.
something like that, or
No.
you mean, and that's it? Like
for a
basically
child,
put a
for
limit.
anyone under 18 years old, especially if someone's enrolled in a school?
No.
You
I don't
think
know.
not?
No.
I don't know.
Not at 16. I don't. Not just at 22. I think the laws are set. I mean, here we are. We
Well,
I'm
took
talking
right.
it
about.
into it.
I'm just talking about a crack barrel single shot
Well, I
But
mean, that can
as
be
gun.
they're
just as much.
set,
Go ahead.
as laws are set now, you can't own anything until you're 18.
How
Any
old was this kid?
firearms. Well,
This
he
kid
was
was
14.
14.
14.
What
Yeah.
type of gun did he use to shoot the school up with?
AR.
AR-15.
That's what I
And
mean.
what was the capacity of the magazine that
Don't know
It's
yet.
probably 30 is what's
Yeah.
typical.
From the picture I saw, it looked like a regular magazine that they would
maybe
have.
maybe we need, and I'm not trying to open up Pandora's box, because as you know, once they start to instill law, but a juvenile law as opposed to an adult law, that should be kept very, very separate and not even brought into context to say that, okay, we need to start to ban guns, right? But the accessibility of a child that has that type of mindset, and to see what type of collateral that child can hold on that, is what I'm talking about.
Well, but the problem is, though, that no matter what laws you put in place, legally, he could not be in possession of that firearm for any reason whatsoever. So,
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
would another law do if, as the law stands right now, he was illegal by even leaving the house with it?
I understand what you're saying to a point. However, I just don't see. I mean, the parents are given. The parent gave him access to the gun.
Yes,
With that being said,
illegally.
right. With that being said, I mean, maybe as a deterrent, say, okay, we're gonna. If you want your child to hunt, we're gonna teach them to hunt ABC 1 2 3 like this, but then try to roll it down to, okay, you'll be able to have access to much better guns once you reach a certain age, just like you can drive once you reach a certain age, just like you can drink once you reach a certain age. If you understand
But
what I'm saying.
the problem is that drinking and driving are privileges.
So is shooting, right?
Well, no, guns are it's your right to own a firearm. A firearm is a right. That it's not a privilege.
At a
The
certain age,
right to
though.
own firearms.
But it's not until wait.
Well,
We'll circle back
you're
around to it.
allowed to own. I mean, you're allowed to own long guns at 18. You're an adult. You know what I mean? So you can carry long guns at 16 if you're going to and from hunting, and that's it. And that's Louisiana. That's not
A
a national
nationwide.
law.
Federal.
That's
Yeah.
Louisiana. So in Georgia, where this happened, I mean, at 14, 100%, he was not allowed to be in possession of it. But I don't even know if they're as loose with their laws there as we are here with being able to be 16 in possession of a long gun if you're going hunting.
Okay. As you all may know now, I'm not just talking about this case in general. I'm talking about something that's more abroad. I'm trying to be a little bit more proactive and get a little bit in front of the situation as it's going on, rather than just be reactive to what just happened. Because
Yeah,
we can discuss the pitfalls of what just happened until we're blue in the face, and it's not going to really solve anything. As opposed to, are we sitting here talking about just what happened, just to shrug our shoulders and say, yeah, it was a tragedy, or are we actually trying to create a certain type of construct to say, hey, we're paying attention to what was going on. We're paying attention to what the moving parts are in the situation. And is there something that we can come up with that's feasible in response to this? Because, of course, as you know, with as many school shootings as they had, this is probably not going to be the last one.
it's not, but I think it's a big step if you start doing what they're doing, which is prosecuting these parents, because
Right.
it'll make the parents play a bigger role in making sure that their children don't have access to it. Now, that's not to say the kid can't go somewhere else and find a firearm, but at least you were doing your job as a parent to try to deter this. But it's just when you grow up and you're around guns, the dad was a hunter. He was trying to get his kid into hunting. It's just part of life to have guns around. We do it here down here in the South. Every household has a gun. So we just get so used to just, some people just lay them around like, like it's a glass of water sitting there on the counter. You know what I mean? Because nothing has ever happened, since they've been doing that. And then all of a sudden, all it takes is one disgruntled kid like this. But so in other words, it's not like the dad had any ill intentions. It's just, but
no, but I mean, you think if your kid gets caught with alcohol at 16 years old and says, hey, my parents gave it to me, like there's going to be repercussions for the parents. If they get caught driving in your car at 14 years old around town and getting a wreck or pulled over, whatever, and say, oh, well, my dad, my mom let me drive the car, you're going to be in trouble. You know what I mean? As a parent. So I feel like it definitely should be along those same lines of like, look, once you're 18 and you can buy these things, or you're 21, you can buy pistols, it's definitely on you. But prior to that, if your parents are giving you purposeful access to these firearms and you do anything with them, that definitely falls back on the parents.
There's accountability.
And there's no other law that would prevent this. You know what I mean? Like you can't, I don't know what law you could pass that would stop a child, from having access to a gun like that, because they can't legally go purchase them anyway. So the only way, I mean, if the gun wasn't in the house, he wouldn't have had access to it. But, that's to say, well, now the dad can't buy guns because you have a kid. You know what I mean? So to me, it was all on the father to lock that gun away. Like what kind of law could have changed any of this?
None.
I'd say slowing the children down as far as to what type of access they have to firearms.
No doubt. Yeah, but that's
I'm not talking about, but I'm talking about, because back in the day when guns were first invented, there were single shots, whether it be bolt action or crack barrel, and then from there it would go off into, it goes on to Tommy guns, it goes on to Gatling guns and whatnot, fully automatic machine guns even.
But
to start off, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to take guns, and I hope nobody paraphrases me in this. I don't want to take the guns out of children's hands, because what happens is when you hold those children back, when they do get their hands on a gun,
they don't know how to act with it.
Right. So you getting a child and familiarizing them with taking a shot as far as hunting is involved, and teaching them about the culture of having a gun around you and the safety part of it at an early age is what's really keeping out the fabric of our society together right now. Rather than if we just go ahead.
I was gonna say, here's my thing about the limiting the type of gun is that the kid didn't go purchase the gun. You know what I mean? So it'd be different if a kid could go to a store and get a gun and say, well, we'll sell you a gun, but we're only going to sell you this kind. Right. So in order for that to happen, nobody would be able to have access to those kind of guns, because the kid didn't legally purchase it. His dad went to a store and bought it.
He didn't even legally possess it.
So it still it falls back on the parent to say, I'm not giving you this type of gun. Or if I
But maybe we should have some better construct as far as the hunting situation is involved and what the children have access to until they're, yes, do get them familiar with it, but then let's kind of say we kind of model them so that, hey, look, this is the type of gun you have until you're old enough to have a gun of whatever type of situation. And then we pass that on to our children from now on so that they get less into, as soon as I get a chance to touch a gun, I'm going straight for an AR. I'm gonna grab it, and then there's gonna be hell to pay, right?
Yeah.
So that now the parents know that children are trying to get off multiple shots and they go into the school. I'm
So are you
it,
saying something like you said, like a crack barrel 410 or a single shot rifle you should be able to let your child like have access to and hunt with these guns that
yeah, because you can't
you
stop
know
your
what I
child
mean?
from
Lower
hunting. You
powered
can't stop the
guns.
citizens from hunting and helping to support the family, carry on tradition. The whole thing, the hunting and fishing thing, is alive and well and running in the United States. Is what makes us Americans, because of the fact that we can get out there and do these things. However, the dad was probably a gun nut, and then he didn't even think twice about passing, this gun to his child. Whereas we can start to have some type of sentiment about, okay, when you pass a gun to a child, are you doing something that's going to be a little bit more, let's say, supported, or something that's going to be frowned upon? I'm passing my child a crack barrel shotgun, a 12 gauge, or am I passing my son a fully automatic rifle?
It sounded like the dad was trying to, I don't even know how to phrase this because I'm not trying to be offensive, but
Oh,
like,
say it.
no, like hunt the gay out of his son, honestly, because I saw a video
Oh, I didn't
where
know you were
he was,
saying that.
well, he was getting his son because his son was gay. Let's put it that way. And
Yeah.
the father's from the South. You sound like a redneck. Do you think that sat well with the dad? If we're just kind of generalizing here, so they had I heard him talking. I heard a little bit of clip of him talking to the police because they released the statement from when, like, 2023. They released the audio tape. I'm sorry, of when they talked to him, and in it, he was saying how he was trying to push his son to hunt, and he was trying to teach him that and teach him how to shoot the guns. And he had a picture of him with blood on his face from his first kill. So it almost seemed like the dad was trying to be like, here, be a boy,
I
be a
got you.
boy. Here's an AR-15, be a boy.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't just
I understand that
speculating.
the collateral may have been a lot less if had he passed him
Bought
a
him a
single shot.
fucking 22 instead
No, I
of
mean a 12 gauge. You could
yeah.
have a slug in it.
Yeah, or at least if you were gonna buy that, say, here, son, this is yours, but
The
I'm
Yeah,
locking it up
and that's
until
right.
exactly like my son. I have him a 22 rifle, but he has zero access to it unless we're at the shooting range, and he will have zero access to it until he's legally allowed to possess and buy those firearms by himself. And then you're an adult, you're 18, take your gun, do what you do. But when he is a juvenile and still anything he does, any of his actions fall back on me. That's going to be
Let me ask
locked
you,
up
Justin,
with
and I'm
me.
gonna ask Brad the same thing too. Do you think that it would be better to, whenever you that your child has access to something like that, that it's more on a limited access, that he has like a single shot before he can graduate and grow into bigger things?
Absolutely. Because
What
that's
about
why
you,
I
Brad?
got
You
the
think?
22 instead of like, let me go buy another 223 AR
Oh,
and
I didn't know
here,
what
this
kind of
is yours.
22 it was. Like, is it a 22 with the banana on it, or is it the
It's just like a Ruger 1022, just a semi-auto 22, and bring the
okay?
shooting range, shoot it. But like I said, it's completely away from his access when we're not
Right.
going to the shooting range. And that's the way it'll stay. And, like I said, as he gets older, it may step up to more bolt action rifles and whatnot, but it'll be the same exact manner of
I got you.
no matter if you've got 15 guns here before you're an adult, you won't have access to them unless we're going to do something that pertains to us taking the guns out.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, let me ask you,
Yes, sir.
do you think it would be in a better instance to any child that's underneath the threshold of 18 years old, underneath the threshold of being able to purchase a firearm for himself, that any weapons that we convey to him to be, that those weapons, it is still a weapon. It is still, a hunting weapon. However, should we have it on a more of a restrictive basis to where just a single shot, or do you think that we should just be able just to hand them the holy grail of all,
No, I do
weapons?
believe it. Look, Bougie, I believe it's a progressive thing. I can say back in the day when my son was younger, it was we go hunting and sit in a deer stand, and he would carry a BB gun. I would have the rifle, he'd carry a BB gun. not to say that he wouldn't shoot. When we progressed him a little bit further, was I'd borrow a friend of mine's 223, uh, or 243, I should say, not a 223, a 243. Um, yeah, I do believe, but I do believe it ultimately comes down to accountability of the parent. To say that a kid shouldn't have access to those guns at a young age, I don't believe that. I just, if he's with me and he wants to shoot my AK-47 at 12 years old, and we're in the right confines and in the right enclosure, and he can
Right.
do it, I have nothing against it. But I can say, just like my grandchildren right now, when I take them to my camp, they're not handling anything at 7 and 8 years old more than a Daisy, Red Ryder, or BB gun.
Right.
So yeah, they're not shooting pistols, and they're just not there yet. Mentally, they're not there yet to fool with that stuff. So I mean, you're hitting on a point there. I get it, but to limit an access of guns to, I mean, like my youngest and even my oldest, I mean, dude, they were 16 years old, and they were in a hunting stand by themselves with 30-06s or 270s, so
Right.
but they knew the fundamentals of a gun, and they were hunter safety certified. They went through hunter safety courses, but no, I get your point. But to say that it should be restricted, I don't know. I'm not for any restrictions, man. I believe it's a parent accountability. I think that has a lot to do with it. Maybe some of
Well,
the
but
parents shouldn't own guns.
Well, apparently,
you're right about that. But
Yeah,
I'm thinking on the whole aspect of any child that's walking around with a weapon that they have access to. That if they're
Yes.
going to have access to a weapon, because of course everyone should, in order for them to protect them home. Even you can't really lock all of the guns up. Let's say everybody's sleeping in the house and your child is the one who notices an intruder. What do you do?
and
Well, you
that's
better come
happened.
wake my ass up. I
You
mean,
better
yeah,
wake up
exactly.
dead.
Yeah, you
I've
better
seen
come
those
wake up
stories.
dead.
They've had those stories in the news in the past where a child,
Yeah.
actually shot the intruder.
Yeah.
Oh, he
Now,
unloaded the whole clip.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
have seen that. But like I said, I think a lot of this, I don't want to say solved, but I think it would be a big deterrent if they start making an example out of some of these parents, because ultimately that's what it's going to fall
Come
on.
down
Because,
to.
yeah, because
Exactly.
there, like I said, there is no law, because there's already laws in place. Like we said the other night, you're not
Plenty.
supposed to shoot people. You're not supposed to murder people. A
Right.
14-year-old's not supposed to be walking around with an AR-15 in a school. None of those laws mattered. The
Right.
point, the problem of it was that he had access to that gun. So that totally lies on the dad. There's
Yes.
no other
Yep.
way to even, that the father is responsible 100%, because had he had those guns locked up, chances are this wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now,
I agree with you.
now it
100%.
brings up a different question. What if he would have grabbed a butcher knife out of the kitchen drawer and went to school and stabbed kids to death?
He wouldn't
Right.
have got that many.
That's not the point. I'm talking about from the liability of the parent. So if you're going to sit there and charge a parent because they have access to a gun, well, do you do the same with your knives in your kitchen drawer? You know
No.
what I mean? Well,
No.
I mean, but how do you make that distinction?
Is there a legal minimum age to carry a knife in America?
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
I
when you're
don't
talking
know.
about weapons,
I
it's
don't
a
know
weapons
either.
charge. A concealed weapon is a concealed weapon.
Yeah, that's it. And I don't have an opinion. I was just curious, like, because I was just sitting there thinking about it. Well, if we're going to draw that line there where you give your child access to something and they do harm with it, well, where does that line stop? Where do you stop
Right.
that? You know what I'm
I
saying?
know. I hear where you're coming from with that, Shane.
I
But it's
mean,
in the same breath. It's that we all have knives in our house, and your kid leaves to go to school one day, and he puts
right.
the serrated freaking knife in his backpack. God,
Yeah. So do
honestly,
they
how can
charge
the
you?
parent be accountable for that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But
Yep.
suppose you've got a gun laying around that you didn't necessarily purchase for him, but you left it laying around, and he grabbed that and puts it in his backpack and goes to school and does something with it. Now they're trying to charge you,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't do that for a butcher knife. You know what I mean?
No.
So it's
Right.
like, can we really go down that road of making, an example of these parents? Because then it's like I said, where does it stop? The little asshole goes in your workshop and grabs a screwdriver and brings it to school and stabs a kid in the neck with it.
Right.
Now
I'd rather hear about my kid getting stabbed with a knife than my kid getting shot.
No, I get it. I'm not meaning that. I'm meaning as far as the law goes, like charging parents with, your child having access to something that they
Yeah.
do.
Oh yeah, you
harm
still
with.
get charged. You still get charged.
Well,
If your kid goes to school and commits a felony, your ass goes to
woo,
jail too.
you're rough, dude.
Well, I mean, there's all kind of hypotheticals, just like you said. I
Well,
mean,
there
what if
is,
he
yeah.
what if he steals your keys at night and runs over, 3 people, but my keys were sitting in the basket next to the front door? I mean, am I
Also
accountable
jail.
for that?
True.
Yes,
Huh?
jail.
So we got to lock up
Jail.
everything from these little badass kids. Is what
Straight
you're
to
saying.
Yes.
jail.
All parents
Straight
are
to
going to jail. Yeah.
Jail.
Well, the best thing to do is you're just going to have to handcuff your kids at night to the bed,
Yes.
and
There
then
you go. Yeah, and then
and
you're
then
If
you
you
got
do
to
that,
frisk them in the morning before they go to school.
Yes.
Strip search them, frisk them, and then you can send them off to
Yes.
school. I guess is where we get
yes,
into in
yes,
society.
my
Okay.
Fuhrer, yes.
well, yeah. If they're going to start charging parents for everything these kids do, now, like I said,
Yeah.
in this case, I do agree. I think the parent needs to pay, but it just like I said, it kind
I
of
agree.
made me think for a minute. Well, damn, what if he'd have brought a knife to school?
Right.
And butchered, slit kids' throats with it. Like, would that be the same?
Yeah.
Would they be looking at the father like, well, you had this butcher knife sitting out on the counter? I mean, I don't know. Not granted, you didn't buy the knife for the kid, but he had access
right.
to it. You know what I mean?
Maybe
Exactly.
you did. I mean, I seen Ratatouille. The kid might have been into that.
No, I mean, but if you didn't know, in reality, it's like, well, I didn't buy the knife for the kid. It was just sitting on the counter, So I don't know. I mean, like in other words, where does it stop where you're responsible for what your child does?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's that accountability situation is a slippery slope. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. But at the same time, that's why laws are in place, because if we always ask what if, then
Yeah.
nothing will never get done. You put up a stop sign and say, all right, well, you only have to stop 1% of the time here. 99% of the time, you don't need a stop sign here. But then, so what? Then you take the stop sign down, and then somebody dies. So now you put the stop sign back up. We have to get to the point where we have to say, okay, let's stop asking what if, and we need to start taking action on this. Now, in a proactive measure, I'm trying to think of what does this lead to? What road does this go down? Do we start to have a construct of this? This having a construct before things take place. I mean, not to bring it up, and I hate to scratch a wound, but look at Trump's rally and Trump getting shot by this freaking moron from down the street.
Yeah.
There's no protocol in this shit, right? So, that's on a case by case basis, and whenever we go to Pennsylvania or whatever, then we're not going to have protection, and then the president gets shot. You understand what I'm saying, right? Like the proactiveness is something that we're lacking.
Well, that's a totally different,
but
story.
it's the same thing. We don't have a construct to this. We don't say, okay, when the president comes in, we're gonna have to have a 2-mile radius.
But they do. That's
We
what
do. It just
there is a
happen.
protocol.
Oh.
It wasn't implied. It wasn't implemented in that
I
situation. That's a whole deeper subject. That's we could go down another rabbit
there's
hole
nothing.
with that.
It's softly. I think it's more softly said than.
Well, speaking of that, so have you noticed that doesn't even get talked about anymore? They don't even
It's
bring
done.
it up.
It's old news, right? Absolutely.
It's like they refuse to really get into the investigation of what happened, why this kid was involved, you know what I mean, and who was helping him. They don't even talk about that shit anymore. But what is that?
Wait. So let me ask you this, and I'm pretty sure Justin knows the answer to this. Where did that kid get the gun from?
Who?
The Trump shooter.
Well,
his
he wasn't
his dad's or something like that. Yeah, he was 18 at least.
No,
I know he was 18, but what I'm saying is, where did he get the gun from?
How old was he, Brad? Before we misspeak.
I'm not too sure, but I think he was over 18.
Yeah, he was
no, but Justin knows more about
old.
this. Yeah. That was not his gun. Am I right?
No, I believe it was kind of the same thing. Like
20,
I believe it was his
20 years old.
His father bought it.
He was 20.
You understand the point that I'm trying to make, right?
What?
You go out and you buy these guns, and you have this certain amount of responsibility to these weapons, no matter what the age. And then we start to have kind of a baseline of what happens whenever someone buys a gun and what's expected of them when they buy a gun. I know that case-by-case basis, you probably live in a household that you don't need your guns locked up, and there's another case-by-case basis to where all the guns have to be locked up. And I know I'm going on a tangent right now, but I just see that there's so much wobble in this, and there's no real construct to this. And I'm really trying to ask questions so that maybe somebody does have a way of shedding a better light on this situation than what we can come up with. If I don't have the answer, at least I'll have the question.
I just don't think there's any way around this besides just parent responsibility. Either don't buy the gun, or if you do, lock it up. I mean,
Lock it up.
It was
Yeah.
all that because that's what was going on with the the Columbine situation. I mean,
Yeah.
them kids had access to those guns because of the parents. Now, granted,
Yeah.
they were out there making pipe bombs also, so I mean, the parents didn't help them with that. But every
Nah,
firearm
but
they
they
had,
knew their kids were crazy as fuck.
right? Exactly. Now, I don't think, and nothing happened to those
The
parents.
parents, I don't
Nah,
think
they're
so.
making money off of doing like motivational
Yeah,
speaking
because
and shit on
that
stage now.
this was before they started all that. We're going to hold your ass, responsible. But
Mhm.
those assholes are the one that set it off, and the way they got those firearms were through the parents. I mean, and
Yeah, and like this the one that just happened in Georgia, the username he was using on Discord when he was making his threats in 2023, it was Adam Lanza in German, I
right.
think. So he was like,
Oh, he
heroizing
was,
Adam Lanza.
yeah. So he was probably obsessed with these school
Yeah.
shootings. Okay. Now, did they ever prove that? I mean, was it him or was he just being accused of that?
They worded it like they know it was him, but they had nothing to
So really,
base any kind of ramifications on. Like
yeah,
they couldn't do anything because he wouldn't admit to it, but they're like, we know.
yeah. And I guess at that point, unless they can prove it, there's not much. But
Yeah.
I mean, what do they got that kind of secrecy on Discord? I mean, they don't, or did they just not dig that deep into it to see
No,
what?
you can be pretty discreet on Discord because you
Anonymous?
don't need any kind of your own information on there. You just kind of make a username, password, and
I just figured it out with all
good
the,
to go.
the I don't know what you call it, where you know where somebody's location is,
Yeah, everybody's got VPNs and whatnot
uh,
now. There's a lot of security you can use if you know how to use it right to
yeah,
stay really anonymous. But
yeah. Well, I don't know, man. Like I said, I think they're making the right call. I mean, it sucks for the father, like I said, to be put in that position where your kid does something and now you're basically paying for it. But hey,
Yeah, I agree with you, Shane.
hopefully it'll discourage other parents from doing this. And it's
Well,
like Bougie said, it won't. It's going to happen again.
oh
You
yeah,
know?
Yeah, I hate to
absolutely.
say it, and I mean, look, my heart goes out to all of these, each and every last person who did not want to get shot. You understand what I'm saying? At the same time, what do we do about it? Because it seems to me that it's not going to go away, or that maybe we'll have like maybe a lull, but then we're going to have a reoccurrence. And then when we do, what did we do in the meantime to be proactive before that situation happens, so that we have a certain type of construct to go into when it does. Now we know who's going to be held accountable. To what degree does your insurance companies get involved, your homeowners insurance or whatever, so that we try to get some type of big companies to get involved in this to try to get ahead of it. Because the insurance companies are involved in everything that we do. All of our OSHA stuff is through insurance companies. All of our laws is through insurance companies.
yeah,
All of our banking, everything that we do involves insurance. So I think that as of right now, it seems like all these parents are just left to fend for themselves. I mean, you don't ever wake up one day and you expect that your child's gonna maybe bump their lip on something and have to go and get a stitch or something like that. But you never expect for your child to do an atrocity like this. And then
yeah,
what happens? Like what big companies do we have, or do we pass this through some type of legislature and it takes
Oh,
a
no.
long ass process to where that and nothing through the government gets done, or do we have some type of privatized situation that has big money that goes, okay, when a school shooting happens, X Y Z is going to happen because of it.
But I just don't know what I just don't know
We
what you
don't need any more
do.
laws. They have enough laws, and I mean, I
I
get
just
where you're coming from, Bougie, with that with insurance. I totally believe that it's accountability on the parents. I think I said that a few
Mm-hmm.
minutes ago. And, some parents are not made to be parents. And as harsh as that might sound, there's probably more than that parents out there that shouldn't be parents. But it is what it is. It's the only thing in this world that you don't need a license to do. You need a license to drive and a license to own this and own that, but you don't need any type of training or a license to be a parent.
well,
And
excuse me. Well, let's put it this way: then what law like would have possibly prevented this?
none, absolutely none.
Well, yeah, I was, like like, because I know Bougie, you keep going back to some kind of legislation or something, and that's
Yeah.
cool if we can. But like honestly, what could be
I'll
done?
explain. I'll explain. So you have a life insurance policy on you that pays out an accidental should something happen to you. You get that, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to if you don't. If you die of violent death and you don't have any insurance on you, then you're left to the local municipality to try to figure out what happened to you. Whereas if you have $1 million case on you, the insurance companies pitch in their own money to go in and try to find out what's going on with you so that they can seek justice. You understand that, right?
Yeah, but you're talking about after the fact. I'm saying,
I'm talking about before and after, so that they create a construct so that people start to understand what to expect when this situation arises. Because right now it's so wonky.
oh yeah, no,
Until
I was meaning laws.
you may have two cases that are identical, but because one was in this state, nothing happened. Because one was in this state, everything happened to this person, and so forth and so on. I'm seeing that there's a lack of a certain construct in all of this, and I know that I'm talking crazy because I'm asking for more insurance, and God knows I pay enough. But at the same time, I do know how the backlash to anyone who has a huge policy on them. I know how that works. They don't really investigate these people whenever they don't have any insurance on them at all, or when no
Yeah,
large company is held accountable for what someone does.
yeah, I was meaning. I get what you're saying. Insurance. I was talking about because I know you brought up a couple times as far as something being done to prevent this from happening, besides the parents, like some kind of law or
Well,
something.
as Brad said, we don't need more laws.
No, that's what I was meaning. So I didn't know if that's what you were getting at, that they could, possibly pass something that would stop this kind of stuff from happening. Because I don't know what they could do. I mean, all they can do
I
is
think
wait for it
I'll
to
say
happen
this.
and then act. You know.
I say this. I think the consequences when it's left on a local level, like let's say from one state to the next, the consequences are going to vary so much until there's not going to really be any type of construct in this because
Yeah.
it's left to our government to try to figure out. And I'm not with that, and I just don't really know how I can really put that, how I can verbalize that right
No, I
now.
get it. I get it.
And it's very, very
Well,
new to me, and it's something I hadn't had a lot of time to think about. But it just gets me to thinking, and I always try to be proactive and then think beyond,
yeah.
where the situation is right now. That's just one of the things, a big thing that came up with me.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I mean, look, the whole thing is and the debate of this is how do you prevent this from happening? And I mean, look, I'm gonna go
I
right
think we
back to
do.
it. It's parenting, and it's
It is
about
parenting.
Yeah, because
accountability. It's about keeping your firearms locked up. And
yeah,
I don't know how else to put it.
no,
I
because
mean,
there's no other law that you can even fathom that would
no,
prevent this,
abs-
because everything
absolutely
that
not.
went on was illegal. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there are already laws in place that are supposed to be stopping this from happening or
But
deterring it, but
Exactly.
it
Right.
didn't.
but
So
a question: do you think that it would kind of deter and slow things down if children from now on are saying, "Hey, okay, you only have access to a single shot
yeah,
rifle"?
but who's going to be responsible for making sure they only have access to that?
The
Right.
parent, just like the smoking age, how it raised, and
Yeah,
then after a while, you understand, right?
but
It starts to bleed out this grandfathered children because in 10 years, let's say in 5 years time from now, all the children that touch guns will only be children who have touched single shot rifles,
right, but you're still putting the responsibility on the parent to follow that.
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Now, if
because
you've
well, I'm
got
trying
some
to give a
hardcore
soft.
parent that's like, "Fuck that, my kid can have anything he wants. My kid
Then
knows
he
how to
will,
shoot a
and I
gun."
understand that,
You know?
but at the same time, because as you may know, most of our society is subservient, and if you don't believe that, look at this mask, and let's take the jab situation that we had going on for 3 years.
Yeah, yeah,
So you will get a response if it's put into law. Say, hey, you can't put a fully automatic or semi-automatic or anything that can shoot over one round per load. Then it would maybe slow down so that if a child was to go, and God forbid, and I hate to say it, that a child should go to school with a weapon, that it may slow down and kind of minimize the collateral of that child attempting to do
yeah,
harm.
yeah. You just start getting on a slippery slope of messing with the Second Amendment, like Justin, talks about. Is
But
Absolutely.
it's the Second Amendment. But to how
Yeah.
many to how many rights does a child to what extent does children have rights?
No, I get
Because
it.
they can't
Well,
drive until they're a certain age. They can't vote till they're a certain age. They
Yeah.
can't, go into the armed services. They can't drink until they're a certain age, and that could, in fact, fall right along with that,
Right.
maybe. And I mean,
But
I'm trying to throw things out there because right now
I-
my heart is sad to even think that this is going on, and we're
Yeah,
having
well,
this conversation.
everybody
because,
wants an easy way out of this to fix this.
right,
You know what I mean? I just don't see laws being
yeah,
the answer, you know?
Laws
no,
aren't the
because
answer.
I
We
think
got enough of them, man.
the problem with this one, as far as any more laws goes, is this kid was not legally allowed to be in possession of this weapon. So no
right,
matter what you put, he did
right,
not follow one law that went with gun possession in the USA, right?
right.
And then a lot of these
Exactly.
shooters that shoot up schools and malls and whatnot, a lot of them you find out after the fact that they're already on FBI watch lists and not supposed to be purchasing guns. And then what do? They go to the store, it slips under the radar, and they're allowed to purchase firearms. So what more laws can you put in place there when it's the lawmakers that are slipping up and the people that enforce the law that are slipping up, that are allowing these people to slip through the cracks and buy
Yeah,
firearms?
what is that with all these like you said, they all seem to be on the damn FBI watch list. What the hell is
Because
up with the FBI? It's like,
because
do they
they
want this
see them
shit?
Because everybody's on the
right.
FBI watch list.
If you're a
You
citizen,
know,
you're on
Congratulations, we made it tonight.
it.
and
Well, look, Kamala's
so
gonna fix it for us all, dude.
Yeah,
First thing
Can't
off
believe
load.
it.
I've heard it time and time again after a shooting that, like, oh well, this person wasn't even eligible to buy firearms, but
Yes.
he did.
Well, that's
And
the
it's
main
like,
thing.
well, then how do you say that we need more legislation when the legislation we have they can't enforce? How are they going to enforce more?
Well,
Yeah,
let me
Hit
ask
it
you
right
this.
on the
Since
head,
Shane
dude.
brought up a good point, I'm going to ask this. Do you think that these people actually are on an FBI watch list?
I
I mean,
believe a
they're
lot of them
saying they
are.
are. I mean, the FBI is saying it. Like the
Oh,
FBI,
yeah. You're
And
going to.
well,
Wait,
no,
wait, wait,
they're
not
wait, 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 wait,
saying
wait. Let me ask him. So do you believe that the FBI? Yeah, right.
no, but
I don't.
I'm saying, why would the FBI come out and look like assholes like that and say, well, he was on our watch list, we fucked up? It's basically what they do. So why admit that? Of
if
saying
anything,
you're
they
the
would say,
FBI?
no, we've never seen
Yeah,
him. We've
you would
never
think
heard
they'd
of him.
lie and say, no, we had no idea this kid was a fucking
And
lunatic.
Because they're
when
trying
I'm
to say that they're
saying,
doing their job. They lie. You understand how a lie works,
but
right? It's like, like remember back in the day, the police, they always said that, yeah, that person was under investigation
I
for a
see what
long
you're
time
saying.
by the
Yeah,
time they catch them doing something.
so yeah,
and
but to me, it makes them look worse. I mean, that might not be their
but
intention if they're lying about that, but it makes them look worse to say we knew about this kid. We didn't do shit, but we knew about him. So
well, I'm not even speaking 100% correctly because I'm saying FBI watch list, but what I'm meaning is a lot of these people are prohibited possessors, meaning that they
Right.
cannot legally fill out the background check and walk out with a firearm, right? Which it happens every day. Somebody will fill out the form, they get denied, right? So basically, there's cases where this is failing to do its job already. So how is adding more to it going to help when they can't even secure what we already have?
they're not.
If
It's
if you
not.
come up with a better construct is what I'm
No.
saying.
Well,
Because right now, as you
half,
know, and I'm only wishing, you know that, right? Because I'm asking for our government to do something, and
yeah,
But what are they going to
I
do
just
though?
I feel
Yeah.
like
well, they
half of the mass shootings we've had in the last 10, 15 years would have been prevented had the FBI would have done their job when it comes to screening the background checks and making sure that information is where information needs to be. That's the big problem is information is not getting from psychiatrists to the FBI, from the FBI into their computer system to flag people when they go buy firearms.
do you think that their
So
hands
then it
maybe are
doesn't
too
matter.
full?
I think
You
it
think
is,
that
but they need to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think everybody's just, we start reaching for, for ways to prevent tragedies like this. But I can't even think, like I said, to save my life, any kind of law or any kind of restrictions that would have stopped something
No.
like
No.
this. Besides, no one can possess a gun. You know what I mean? But then
Uh-oh.
they would have to go and take everybody's guns. So I'm saying there's no realistic law that would have stopped this from happening. This was totally on the parent, as all of them have been, from my recollection, they've all been where the kids have gotten the guns from the parents. So, I mean, I don't know how the government would stop that. Even if you say the kid can't have anything but a BB gun. It doesn't matter. It's still on the parent to not buy anything more than a BB gun. And then you got idiot fucking parents out there that are going to do it. So they need to come down on these parents, throw them in fucking jail. And hopefully the next parent will think, well, I was going to get my 13-year-old an AR. I think I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
That's about all you can really do.
Did y'all
That's about
see
all you can
the not really prevention, but the safety devices that they just implemented in that school? I think it was a week before the shooting. They gave all the teachers key cards that they wear around their neck, and it's to each teacher, and it has basically a panic button on it in case anything happens. And when the panic button is pressed, it relays it to the local police, and they can tell GPS coordinates within like a 4-foot radius of where the teacher's at to tell what part of this school it's happening in. They said that from the time the first button was pressed in this school shooting to the time the police apprehended the suspect was 5 minutes.
So they went through all of that, but yet he was able to walk through the front door.
Well, he was, but those devices are meant to help stop a Uvalde where somebody's in this school for an hour and a half shooting because the police are like, oh, we don't know where he's at. Well, now they've got a geolocation from 5 teachers that hear gunshots pressing this button. And they're like, all right, well, he's in this hallway, da-da-da. And they said it was 5 minutes from the first button pressed to the time that he was apprehended in cuffs.
Yeah, which is, but wasn't
so it doesn't prevent it, but
wasn't that resource officers that did that though? That wasn't police that showed up.
It was, but they were relaying it, and they knew exactly where he was at off of these button presses.
Which is, that's a cool thing to implement.
Like I said, it doesn't stop it, but it keeps from a Uvalde.
Unlike Uvalde, see, and when they found out where the shooter was, them coward ass cops didn't do anything in that situation.
And Virginia Tech
slaughtered. Yeah, Virginia Tech.
They had no clue where that guy was. He's going upstairs, downstairs, walking hall to hall, and they're like, "Oh, he's over there," and they get there, he's already gone.
Well, at least they didn't know. In Uvalde, they knew. Because they've got video footage of the cops standing around. Nobody wants
trying to go in.
Yeah, nobody.
The parents actually had to go and run into the school against the cops'
didn't want to run towards bullets, which is your fucking job.
So Uvalde's a bad example, but like a Virginia Tech where they're like, well, we don't know where this guy's at. So they were entering buildings, but they were just too late because they had no clue. They were like, oh shit, and then he's running off campus. So it's supposed to help with that.
I still want to know how, honestly, I don't know. I guess nobody's read up on it because nobody said anything, but I want to know how he got in this school.
Well, it's a big question. That's what I've been seeing asked, and they just haven't released it yet. So I'm waiting on it for sure to see how he gets an AR-15 into a school because again, he was only there for 2 days. So it's not like he knew back ways into the school and was sneaking through.
Maybe that's what he was looking for.
Stuff like that.
And I just caught that. I was asking I forgot he was a student. I'm looking at it like it was because I keep asking how he got into school. I get that now. I was mistaken. In my brain, I'm thinking he was an outsider that came into the school. So he had all the right in the world to walk into the school.
Yeah, absolutely.
The big question is, how did he get this rifle in?
How did he get the rifle in the school? Because again, he was there for 2 days. So it wasn't like he was like, sneaking through back ways. He didn't even have time to scope the school out.
I've asked it numerous times, and I just caught on that he was a student. He was, because they've had instances where it wasn't students.
That pre-K or all these pre-K kids. That was an ex-student. His mom worked there.
Nobody was going to question this boy walking into school because he goes.
No.
I got it. Okay, but somehow he got a damn long one.
AR-15 is still pretty big.
Bro, you don't hide that in a book bag.
No.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
You're gonna have to answer some questions, man. You're gonna have to answer some questions, but
good old dad's gonna go to jail. So
I think that's what needs to happen.
He's probably eating dinner right now. Actually, it's probably chow time.
Yeah, well,
and what if we arm these teachers, man? You think that's a possibility?
No, because looking at what the No. Let me speak on it. Hold on. Wait.
Oh shit.
Brad, looking at what these kids do what the students do to the teachers. If I was one of the teachers, there would still be a mass shooting.
I think as far as arming the teachers go, I think it should be an optional course that they can take, and it should be up to the teacher if they want to be armed. If you want to be an armed teacher, that's fine. That's completely up to you. We have courses set up you can go take, and then you'll be eligible to,
But Justin, let me hit on this real quick, dude. What do you think about, because like you just said, Bujo, it would be a mass shooting regardless. But what about non-lethal, man? If it was burner or if it was taser or something like that. But I'm in agreement with you that I think it should be an optional thing. You know,
Yeah.
that
Whatever
if the
weapon you
I
give
teachers,
me,
agree.
if I'm the teacher, I'm going to use it on the
Well,
kids.
that's why you wouldn't get one, because they would do a psych eval. You know,
Yeah.
you would have to go through a
yeah,
strenuous course and a test. Like you can't just sign up
absolutely.
and say I want to carry a gun.
No,
Yeah.
I,
They
I
would
Even
I
tell
mess
you
up at one school, and then they just moved me to another
no,
school.
they'd
Come on.
fire you after the psych eval. You'd be done.
even less lethal and non-lethal, I think kind of the same thing. It should be optional, and the teacher
I
should
agree.
definitely have to take an optional, training course on how and
Yeah.
when to use these things, and
Yeah,
I agree.
Nice if
I'm almost with that. I wouldn't be opposed to if my child went to a school where the teachers were armed, as
at
long as there was
beanbag rounds.
fuck, I don't care if it's a damn hollow point. Just as
Yeah,
long as
whatever.
they're trained
Right.
and they've been through the proper protocols, and mainly, like I said, just a psych eval. They can't have anything in their past. Now, granted, that may not stop. I'm sure if you do that, Bougie is right. There is going to be one of these teachers
That goes off. Yeah.
right, or you see how some of these kids manhandle some of these teachers.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now you got a gun in a classroom,
Right.
and you say you're in high school and you've got a 5'1" female teacher in there with a 6'3" student
Right.
that decides he wants that gun.
Well, I don't
Beanbag
think
round.
teachers should be walking around the classroom with holstered
Oh, you
pistols.
that's
Yeah,
how
they should.
Look, I'm thinking
I
of
don't
the
think
army with
so,
bullets going across the
because
chest.
I mean, it's a deterrent, and it's to help stop a threat, right? So if something does go down, hopefully there's a chance that they can get to this firearm, and there's
I
some
see
kind
what
of
you're
warning
saying.
that
You're talking
goes
about
off.
having it
If
locked.
there's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
then
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like we can contain this threat
Look,
as best as possible.
that's
No,
not a
but Brad
bad
said it.
idea. Listen, suppose you have it to where it's locked in a safe that only the teacher has access to. And when they send out that distress call over the monitors or whatever, that's when the teacher goes and gets the firearm. I'm with
Exactly.
you, not just walking around like it's the Wild West, because that's what I
Yeah.
was picturing in my mind. They got
Just a
holstered.
44 Magnum on their hip.
Yeah. One on each hip, dude. Absolutely.
No,
dude.
I say that she has it on her back, and she's over there
Yeah.
teaching, and she's got the shotgun with the beanbag rounds and on her
She's
back.
using it
She's
to
teaching.
point at math equations.
Yeah,
2 +
she's
2.
sitting there and she's like, yeah, Jerry, what do you say about that?
Yeah,
Like, all right,
yeah.
Steve, what do you say about that? Yeah, just
No,
why not?
Like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to that going on in school. Some
Yeah.
people are totally against it, but it's usually people that are just against guns in general.
Well, and I hear the argument that that's not the teacher's job, and I understand that.
Well, it's
That's
not.
why
That's
I say
why-
it should be optional.
Yes. Yeah, we're
It
not
should
saying as
be
soon as
an
they hire them,
opt-in.
throw a gun in their hands. Yeah, no,
Right.
you have to want to do it,
Exactly. Because if
Well,
you
you
don't
can't-
want to have a firearm as a teacher, you're not going to use
Well,
it.
yeah,
in a
you're not going to do shit
situation.
with it, right?
You're
I mean,
gonna
it
be
should
like,
be optional.
Yeah.
I mean, but still,
think
your kid can't get shot if your kid's at home. So we need to have a
Homeschool.
better construct of homeschooling these children and
Well,
stop
that
and
would
using
really
our
suck if
children
they
as a
shot up
stimulus
school.
package for society, because we talked about that.
Well, we also talked about the possibility of homeschooling isn't always a reality for a lot of parents, because you've got both
Because
parents
it's
going to
frowned
work
upon.
all day. Well, no, I'm saying you got, like, if your wife works and the husband works, or if you got two husbands and two wives, whatever you're doing at home,
Hey,
if you
And they're
both go to
working.
work, how do
How
you
do you do
homeschool
that?
your child?
you
Now,
got to get you a
look,
Jeffrey like on Fresh
I'm not. Well,
Prince.
no, what I'm
Well, no,
saying is,
listen.
for the people who can homeschool,
yeah,
we
oh
need
yeah,
to start having more homeschooling. We need to start having smaller schools, because this
And
whole
it
school
is.
culture and this whole
So-
college culture and all of this crap is
Well,
a
let's
bunch
talk-
of crap.
Let's talk Mama Bear. I see a Mama Bear comment. What do you think, Mama Bear? Would you be opposed to your teachers being armed in a school with your children if you have children? Because I see you had commented on there, and you seem pretty anti-government, pro-gun.
Absolutely.
See what Mama Bear says, but hold on, I think she's. But yeah, anyway, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think. I'm trying to think of any other solution to, besides throwing guns in the hands of the teachers. I mean, besides just, I don't know. I guess it all goes back to the parent,
Oh, it definitely 100% goes back.
It starts
to
at
the
home
parent.
for sure.
But
Absolutely.
I do like the idea of arming teachers that are willing to. Now, like you said, I can't say that for 100% that you won't have some rogue teacher that just decides to,
Yeah.
you know, they've had enough with life, and
Even
because
if
you're,
it's non-lethal rounds, you know.
yeah, that would probably be something, I guess. But I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. When you got an asshole walking down the hallway with an AR, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
secure.
I agree.
I did see some of those things you'll see online where these teachers are able to pull these security doors closed and shit in their classroom, you know, to
Right.
where it's proof nobody can get in, you know. But I mean, it doesn't stop the, you know, kids walking around the hallway at the time when some asshole comes in there with a gun. But you
I'd
know,
rather
I
have
mean,
a teacher with a 12 gauge non-lethal
yeah,
beanbag while I'm sitting in that classroom than nothing at all.
yeah. Man, it's just a
I
shame. It was
agree.
something we never even thought about when we were in school. You know what I mean?
No,
And
Never.
I
should
mean,
I
we
have a
were hitting
child,
on
I'd
that the
rather my
other
child
night.
be at home.
We were hitting on that the other night, Shane, where it was like I remember going to school and it was like my uncle would come pick me up to go hunting, and then the teacher would be like, "Just put the gun in the back of the classroom, shotgun," you know. I
Yeah.
mean, it was
All right.
never an issue, you know.
Mama Bear says, hell no. I think they should have at least several teachers that are trained and armed at all times and armed guards.
Well, we
And
like
it's
Mama Bear.
be
She's
like,
got good comments, you
it's
know.
going to be a prison by the time.
Well, you know what, too, man? You know what else would be good for some of these ex-military, retired military,
Yeah,
man?
yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
mean, look, resource officers are one thing, and I think they do
Yeah,
a great job. But what about some of these retired militaries, man, that they could walk
yeah.
around and police and
And,
patrol, you know?
you know, they would, of
We could
course,
put
have to
some politicians in the schools too.
and do what? Get
Yeah,
rid
Have
of
what
them
them
they
walk
gonna
around.
do?
and
Have
hope
them
there's a.
walk around. No.
Oh, Lord. No, man. I don't know, man.
You're already paying them for nothing.
I was thinking you were talking about the, you know, the homeschool, and I guess even if both parents do work, I mean, if you want to find the time, you'll find it because there's no rules that your kid has to do schoolwork during the day. You know, you could come home in the evenings, you can get a couple hours because with the homeschooling, it's not the nonsense of an 8-hour day of school. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
not
Right.
learning all this stupid shit that doesn't add up to anything. It's the
Yeah,
basics that you're teaching
but
your child.
well, school is a stimulus package for every municipality. I
Of
mean, if those
course,
children aren't in school, then
of course.
that's that many jobs and that much
Yeah.
fuel
Well,
being used and that much food
when I
and
when I took mine out, it was the pushback was crazy. It was the last thing the school wanted you to do. You know what I
yeah.
mean? When
That's
the couple,
because, and I'll say this, and I'm going to say it again, because our children aren't our children. Our children belong to the state. And if you
oh
don't
yeah,
answer to the state for anything, then you have hell to pay,
yeah,
right? So now the state has a new problem, and they're like, all right, now we're going to turn around and throw the parents in jail. No,
yeah,
start throwing some of the people that's in higher ups in jail. That
yeah.
happened in, you were a principal and somebody got shot in your school, your ass is going to jail.
Mm, yeah. I guess I still think it falls, you know, like I said, on the parents, you know, just not giving them
Nobody wants to
access to
have
shit like that.
responsibility and accountability for things until it's time to have accountability. Then all of a sudden, I didn't know about that. You know, like you see the cops that get caught doing a bunch of bad stuff, and then they go and talk to the sheriff of that town, and the sheriff's like, I didn't know my deputy was doing none of that at all. You're lying.
The sheriff of that town. It sounds like you're in
No,
Mayberry or something.
Well, you are
no, it's
talking,
not
Bougie,
Mayberry.
you are talking about a school that this kid shot 4 people. I mean, it was a school of 1,900 kids, man. So it's not just some little
The
small.
school was too big. I
Well,
don't know what else to say.
Damn, we just got all the answers. None of them are gonna
yeah,
work.
Because
I
we're
don't know
getting
where you.
taxed. Listen, we're getting taxed the same no matter if the school is big or small. You
Yeah,
understand that, right?
I
yeah.
understand where you're coming from with that, dude. Yeah, I understand. Well,
We should just build.
Piling all the kids into one.
maybe give more school vouchers to some of these kids. They can go to a Catholic or a private type of school, you know, in a better setting.
It
Because
shouldn't
look,
be
I'm
that
not a
big. Do you,
fan of public school. I think it's probably the worst thing you can do. It's nothing but indoctrination all the way around, you know.
but let me ask you this, Brad. How big do you think a high school should be?
I mean, look, you can look at our local school right up the road from my house. I mean, I know at one point in time there was like 2,000 kids there, man. You know,
You think that's
so
too big?
I believe, yeah, because there is no one-on-one or teacher
Thank you.
to child
Thank
teaching
you. It's
ratio.
like a
No, I
puppy
mean
mill.
So we
it
should have
is.
a
It is. It's nothing but a puppy mill.
a
Right?
school
Yeah, it's a
school for
puppy mill.
every 10 children should have their own school. Like we'll just
Well,
that's
you know,
it.
you
Like an
could
episode
really,
of Rugrats.
Yeah,
yeah,
Mama
but you
Bear
really could
comment.
cut class sizes down instead of 30,
Boochie,
40, 50 kids in a classroom. I mean, but hey, it is what it is, you know.
can you
So
read the comments, Bougie? Because you're getting
Children to
commented
go to
too.
school. Go ahead.
You're
I
getting
can't read any of
commented.
those comments, by
You
the way.
see them? My children don't belong to anyone but me, Bougie. The state doesn't do shit for them.
Go ahead, Mama Bear. Speak your mind.
Mama Bear's getting a little aggressive.
Yeah.
She said that the state don't
But
own
she
her
is
kids.
right. She is right to a certain degree.
Well, I think
Absolutely.
She's not
Boogie's
right.
point was,
The-
listen, it's because you made the point a while back, which was a good point. Enroll your children in school and then decide for a week you're going to let them stay home and watch how fast they're coming for you.
Yes,
They want to
indeed.
know, why is your kid not in school? Where is your kid? We're going to set up a meeting and they're sending you letters and shit. Well, I mean, so
Yeah, that's not
now,
your kid. That
now
kid
maybe
belongs to that
she's leaning
school.
in
That kid
her,
belongs to that parish. That kid belongs to that municipality. That
she's probably
county.
leaning in her instant. Maybe her kids don't go to public school and she's on no kind of government, but one way or another, you can only do so much with your child before the government will step in. They to me, they've always got some kind of eye on you, no matter if you think they do or not. You know what I mean?
So you should have your kids at home.
Yeah.
Don't tell
Yes.
anybody. And
But
let 'em
even
live
when you
life.
do, you have to prove to the state that you are enrolled in homeschool. They're not going
No,
to just
they
take
don't
your
know
word.
about them.
Well, yeah, you just start having children at home.
That's what I said. Yeah, have your kids in the
Oh,
master
have your kids
bedroom.
born at home.
Yeah, and the state will never know.
Absolutely.
And that's illegal. That's what I'm saying. You can't just have children and not report it. They want
Right.
them to have a social security number because they want to keep track of them.
Dude,
You
you
know what I
can't
mean?
hunt. You can't fish. You can't have kids.
Nothing.
You think they do like kid births like they do BBLs right across the border in Mexico?
I probably
Could.
just go over there, have a kid, no paperwork.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but then you
there
got to
you go.
sneak
Probably
a
save you some money too.
little
Sneak
Jorge
them
back
back in
into
a-
the United States because he's not gonna.
Get you a duffel bag.
That's crazy.
all right, guys. I think we all came to the agreement this father needs to be charged. That was kind of what the point of it was that I wanted to
Yep.
get at.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Let's wrap it up. Good discussion. I would have liked more people to get involved, but man, it's Friday night, man, and football games are on. Freaking
It is on.
people are out and about. They just not on. They ain't doing the YouTube thing right now, but it's cool. We got the chat. I liked it. We'll get out.